This video is going to help you identify and understand verbs. So remember that a verb is part of a sentence that is a foundational part. Every sentence has to have a subject and a verb. Most of us recognize verbs as the action going on in the sentence, and that is a primary function of a verb. There are three types of verbs though. We have action, we have linking, and we have helping. So the verb gives the sentence meaning by saying something about the subject, or it can link, and we want to make sure we can distinguish between action, linking, and helping verbs. Notice the verbs in these sentences. I like homemade ice cream. The Blakes drove through the Ozarks. Are alligators reptiles? So a verb is a word that expresses action or otherwise helps to make a statement. Let's focus on action verbs first. Most of us are familiar with action verbs, which expresses the mental or physical action within a sentence. The owls hooted all night. Gloria played with the children. We studied our history at the library. So you can see these verbs are clearly giving us an action that is going on in the sentence, and these are the most easily identifiable verbs. If we did some for practice, we could read, for a science project, Elena built a sundial. What did she do? She built. Mr. Santos carefully explained the problem again. What did Mr. Santos do? Explained. And finally, for my fall sport, I chose soccer. What did I do? I chose. So action verbs are probably going to be the less difficult to identify. When we get into the next section of verbs, linking verbs, there is a short list, and if you want to, the best thing to do is memorize them. A linking verb is a verb that does not show action, but it will connect the subject with another word. And the most common linking verb is be. The following are some forms of the word be. Is, am, are, be, was, being, were, been. So I am a photographer. He is sick. We are early. Those berries were delicious. In this sentence, I am a photographer, there's no real action going on, but we do need a verb to link the subject I to the rest of the sentences. That's where our linking verb will come into play. So words like am, is, are, were, these are all going to be considered linking verbs. Once you recognize them, once you get into the habit of recognizing them, they will become easier to identify. So Denver is the capital of Colorado. What's the linking verb? Is. Tom and Bob were late for school. Were, linking verb. He was a doctor for 7 years. Was. The teacher is mad at her students. Is. They were quiet during the show. Were. So again, once you start to recognize them, you're going to be able to pick them out pretty easily as linking verbs. And then finally we have helping verbs. And helping verbs will either assist an action verb or a linking verb. A verb can consist of one word or several words, otherwise known as a verb phrase. A verb phrase contains either an action verb or a linking verb, but it also will have one or more helping verbs in front of it. I would recommend that you do recognize this list of commonly used helping verbs. And you'll notice that the linking verbs will overlap here, and the linking verb am or is will become a helping verb when it is followed by other verbs. So take some time to look at this box and recognize that all of these words can be used as helping verbs. And then what you want to do is start getting into the habit of looking for verb phrases. So she might be going with us tomorrow. Might be going is the entire verb phrase, and then we have some helping verbs here. Have been dating for 3 years. So what you'll notice is we have a string of verbs, and when you have more than one, then we have helping verbs attached. It's good for you to recognize that we can have one or two or more in a verb phrase. There are some rules for verbs that you will want to pay attention to, because sometimes we can split up our verbs. So a split verb phrase will occur when a verb phrase is interrupted by some other part of speech. So we generally have two types of split verb phrases. You could have adverbs such as not, never, ever, often, only, and they can interrupt your verb phrase. So for instance, Ken does not have a pen. Does and have are verbs, but the word not is not part of the verb phrase. So you have to be careful not to identify it as a verb. And here's another example. Our dog has always been a loving pet. Has been are the verbs. Always is an adverb. So we do not want to include it in what we call our verb phrase. And questions oftentimes will have a verb phrase that is split or interrupted. So did you watch the play? You is actually a subject. Did and watch are the verbs. So you see that the verbs were interrupted or split up by the subject here in the question. Take some time to practice those things. The demonstration video will also help you with this skill. What you will notice is that you will get into the habit of looking for your verbs such as have and visited, and then you'll see that this one is split by a subject and an adverb. Would go. So Bob and Mary would often go. What would they do? They would go. Often is an adverb that specifies when. Okay, so sometimes our verb phrases can be split up, and this is something to remember. Another helpful thing to remember about verbs is that we have contractions, and contractions are formed by joining words together. One of them is usually a verb, such as they've for they have, or shouldn't for should not, or it's for it is. You do need to be careful, though, that when you have a contraction, it doesn't mean that the entire thing is a verb. So if you look at this and you see they've, you see they have. Have is the only part of the verb. Same thing with a contraction like shouldn't. Should is part of the verb. Not, that's not considered part of our verb. So just be careful with contractions. So if you see a contraction and you're asked to identify a verb, make sure you understand what part of the contraction actually is doing the job of the verb. Okay?